Fish friends, I was not planning on doing a video tonight. I came down just to do some water changes. I was looking into this tank, which is now the fifth tank in my series of my fish room, and I saw fry. I'm super excited. I have bred this Apisto before, Apistogramma cockatooides, the cockatoo cichlid. The males have a really high dorsal fin, and just like the bird. Anyway, that's the best part of the video right there. If you missed that female, the female spitting out a couple of her fry, she collects them in her mouth and will bring them back to the little zone where she's protecting them. Anyway, they're great parents, and in fact, the female, even though they're small, they're not nearly as colorful as the male that you'll see here in a second. They have just great personality. They're actually a great community tank fish on their own. Nice little dwarf cichlid. But if you put a male and female together and give them some caves, they will probably spawn for you. I had the parents in the 20-gallon Wallstead tank that I did in the previous video. And I kept some females, ended up with more females than males. And then I kept this one male. He was my absolute favorite. And you'll see him in a second. He's just got incredible long fins. Really nice color. The parents were sold as the dad was a triple red, but I don't think that the mom was. And so these guys came out a little bit different, but they are really nice. I like the males a lot in terms of their coloration, but the females, like I said, have great personality. They're great moms. They just really aggressively take care of their fry. You'll see her chasing the male away here in a second. But they're really aggressive to any other fish in the tank. And so I had put them in here not very long ago. I had just reset up this tank and got a bunch of plants in it, and put the females in there. I put two females in there, and one took the cave over here on the left, and the other one has a drilled pot over on the right. Anyway, you can see the female really doesn't want the male around. She doesn't want them around her fry. And they generally, though, they're not big fry eaters. And sorry for the choppy video there. My alarm on my phone actually went off, so I had to start shooting again, but I didn't want to give up the little bit there where the female grabs the fry and spits them out. It's just really fun to watch. Anyway, Apistogramma cockatooides, to breed them, you should keep them at about 78 degrees apparently. That should produce 50% male and female fry. For me, it didn't. So when I had the parents in the upstairs 20-gallon Wallstead, you can see the female there. Again, just keeping the male away. But the parents had many, clutches of fry, and just did a great job raising them. Had a lot of Apistogrammas come out of there. But I always had more females than males. And so in this tank, I'm trying it at 79 degrees to see what that gives me. As you can see, they're incredibly sexually dimorphic. The male is much larger than the female, has very different coloration. The female Apistogrammas look very similar among different species. They are different. Experts can certainly tell them apart. The male Apistogrammas hopefully can tell them apart. But I never mix them to make sure we don't end up with any hybrids. Anyway, you can see in the tank I've got a lot of plants. I just got recently from a local hobbyist here in St. Louis. They're in pots. I have some new tanks I've set up. So some will probably move over to those new tanks. But the pots, these are 3-inch clay pots, and I just put them in fluval stratum and then put a thin layer of gravel on top to help keep everything in since the stratum's so light. But they'll go great in those pots. I have a good number that are over a year old in pots. And because of my fish room, I like to just have thin gravel. All the tanks, or almost all the tanks, have just this coarse gravel in a single layer, so I can easily keep it clean. And so the certain plants will grow, anywhere. I've got a number of things in the middle there that are just glued onto driftwood. They'll grow on naturally over time, but the Loctite super glue gel keeps them there. You can see the female's cave there on the left. But anyway, I have those on there. They'll grow on. And so I've got those in the middle. This is like other tanks in my fish room. It's got a shop light that covers half to 2/3 of it. So I don't have too many plants on the left. I've got the crypts over on the right, and then some lower light plants, some special Java ferns, and a bulbitis fern kind of in the middle. There might be some Java moss way over on the left. Double sponge filter heater. But a pretty simple setup. And these are just in regular St. Louis County tap water. I age it, and of course I treat it. We have chloramine in our tap water. And when I do water changes, I heat it up to temperature. So it's about, in the upper 70s going in. There's conflicting information in the literature about the pH and hardness. Some wild species have actually been caught in hard water, and others in soft water, which is more common for Apistogrammas. But the tap water here is, it comes out of the tap pretty high, but it drops right down into the low 7s. And then the pH is about 2. I do add some India almond leaves, and I actually had to loop the video here because I'm talking too much, so you got to see the female spit the fry again. And then lately I've been adding some alder cones as well to help add some tannins to the water. You can see there's some drifter in there as well, which does that. You can see really well in this picture, I also just gave the fry probably too much vinegar eels. That's a great first food for fry. One of the best things about it is that you can just keep them on hand for really long periods of time. They don't go bad. So they're called vinegar eels, but they're actually a paramecium. And they're tiny, they wiggle, they'll live in regular water for about a day. And the fry just love that movement. And then I'll move them on to baby brine shrimp really soon. For all I know, they've already been eating it because I didn't notice them earlier today when I fed the baby brine shrimp to the tank. Or this could be the female's first time bringing them out because I hadn't seen them before. If you want to keep vinegar eels, it's really simple. They live in a nice gallon or 2-gallon jar, glass jar with a cloth rubber banded over the top to keep other things out, and it's just half apple cider vinegar, half water, and then you take 1 cut up apple and put that in there. That'll sink to the bottom, and then you add a culture of the vinegar eels, and they'll just take off, and they last for 6 months to a year. This culture is actually more than 6 months old. I just finally did the 50% change that you're supposed to do every 6 months. It's probably been 7 or 8 since I started the culture. But like I said, they're handy to have on hand for first food. And anyway, this is a great fish. Exciting for me. Thanks so much for watching.